मैंने तो पूछते कि कोई मैं कब घर से निकला क्या हुआ तो मैं आया था टाइम के बच्चे बैठे मुझे पहले लगा गलत क्लास में आ गया इधर छाती आगे बैठ गया और बच्चा आने लगे मैंने पूछा कौन सी क्लास में बोल रहे थे मैंने पूछा क्या नहीं कहाँ पे बोलते हमारे क्लास 98 पे हमारे क्लास की क्लास इधर आ कुछ कैसा लगेगा कि आज ज्यादा लोग बच्चे आ रहे हैं इन्हें लोग जानता भी नहीं इसी क्लास में बैठे हैं मुझे लगा कि हाँ ये दो नए बच्चे आए तो बैठे तो और 2-3 आने लग गए फिर मैंने कुछ मैसेज लिखवाया जो फिर लिया हाँ जो मैं निकलता हूँ फिर 4 बजे और फिर चलते हुए आता हूँ ना मैं 4 बजे निकलता हूँ नहीं तू इस टाइम जल्दी निकलता हूँ 4 बजे पहले वो अच्छा है यहाँ पे पूरा सा टाइम टेबल देखा था जो टाइम टेबल पर क्या था बाहर और तेरे में बायो था अरे आज बायो और केमिस्ट्री है नहीं हाँ निकला तो मैंने फोटो लेके रखी है अभी वो टाइम वो चेंज होता है वो गायब रहता है हाँ इसको ऑनलाइन जाओ इसको बायो लेके आ गया ऑनलाइन जाओ मुझे से बायो है ना दो है मेरे को निकालना है क्योंकि मैं तो देख के ही छटने में था कि आज केमिस्ट्री है इसमें तो याद है अच्छा लैपटॉप डाला है कॉमन अरे यहाँ पर क्या लॉगिन क्या होता है पर पीछे जा रहा है तो लॉगिन आईडी याद है तेरा यार बायो केमिस्ट्री ना क्या था मेरा मेरे के लिए मैथ्स डाला था उस टाइम पे मैंने मैथ्स भी डाला है ऐसे बायो डाला मैं 1 मिनट पहले निकल गया केमिस्ट्री डाल के आया तो केमिस्ट्री का निकल गया था तब मैंने भी नहीं किया मैं बोलूंगा मैंने कर दिया तो मुझे पता नहीं था केमिस्ट्री था मैं नेक्स्ट क्लास में करके आ जाऊंगा बिग ब्रेक मूव कैसा सुंदर दिखाने कैसे नहीं यार और तो सेकंड में से क्यों बैठो नहीं ये मुद्रा का कभी बैठा है नहीं ये मुद्रा सर मैं फर्स्ट क्लास में बैठा था फर्स्ट क्लास टॉप थी मुझे क्या अरे घंटा नहीं जा रहा मैंने नाखून भी काटे बायोलॉजी को हम लोग क्या अरे नहीं मैंने सेकंड क्वेश्चन का मिला नहीं मेरे पहला क्वेश्चन था एंजाइम्स और हार्मोन्स बट उसके बाद का नहीं मिला मुझे क्लास में सब कुछ करवाया इसने तो किया भी मेरे को बायोलॉजी मैंने दोनों चल बैठे नहीं यार मैं क्या कौन सा तो प्यार से नहीं ना वो देखिए अरे वो है केमिस्ट्री और केमिस्ट्री का होना क्या है बायो आया है वो अलग नंबर आज बायो केमिस्ट्री आज मैथ्स नहीं टाइम टेबल में तो बायो में 5:30 मिनट पहुंच जाऊंगा आज ओके मिलेंगे आज सबको ए तूने केमिस्ट्री लाया मैथ्स क्लास के कौन सा होता है केमिस्ट्री का अरे ये था ना पूरा
मैंने नहीं किया
को
क्या
सीयू मतलब
आज बायो है ना कॉल
आज बायो है
बायो
का क्या होगा
सेकंड वाले तो क्या करेगा तो सेकंड वाले क्या करेगा
मैथ्स के लास्ट पेज पे सर कुछ बोल रहे
अबे
थे
मेरा क्वेश्चन है
सर आपने घूम में रहते
अबे कल जो टेस्ट है उसके तुम लोग क्या अलग से नोट
अबे यार तो हुआ ही नहीं इस बार है पर न्यूमेरिकल्स करना मेरे को चल जाते न्यूमेरिकल्स आने
हम लोग फर्क इनको थोड़ी ना फर्क पड़ता है कि हम लोग को कैसा चाहिए
अब मैं मैथ्स कर लिया पूरा सुबह से मैथ्स कर रहा हूं
मैथ्स में तो मेरे को दो मिले नहीं
इधर डाल मारेगा
मुझे दो मिले दो नहीं मिले मेरे को
दिमाग खराब हो गया आज
मेरे को मिला क्या मैथ्स के वो जो सॉर्ट ऑफ होता होता है
अरे हां वो नहीं आया
मेरे को थर्ड में नहीं मिला
मैंने अभी किया
मुझे मैंने अभी नहीं किया
मुझे लगा आज मैथ्स से बाद में बोल रहा है
आज से दो ही लेक्चर है
आज चाहे मैथ्स नहीं है वो अलग बात है
नेक्स्ट वीक से कैसे होता क्या पूरा 2 घंटा बायो 2 घंटा मैथ्स 2 घंटा
वो हाँ मैंने देखा था हाँ पूरा वैसा चेंज कर रहे हैं इंग्लिश जैसा हम लोगों का 2 घंटा का लास्ट का वैसे ही होगा मतलब सारे सब्जेक्ट्स ऐसे हैं 2 घंटे एवरी डे तो मुझे हमें एक घंटा और एक बुक लाना है ओह शिट
देख 15 मार्क्स का मैथ्स है
15 है
20 क्या स्पंदन
अबे अनम्यूट करना
क्या हुआ
खराब है
भाई सुन ना जब अटेंडेंस आएगा तो मेरा नाम भर देना उसमें
हाय स्पंदन
मैं तो वीडियो तो ऑन कर
मैं नहीं करेगा तेरा
हट मैं नहीं करने वाला वीडियो जा तू
मैं नहीं कर रहा तेरा चल
मैं नहीं लिखेगा
इसका अटेंडेंस कोड भी मत लिखना
हां कोई नहीं लिखेगा
ये करना
तुम लोगों का ना इस मंथ का टाइम टेबल एक बार चेक करो ठीक है हाँ और उसमें क्या हो जाता है सब्जेक्ट ये सब थोड़ा चेंजेस रहता है 3 आवर्स का लेक्चर रहेगा आगे से हाँ इंस्टेड ऑफ 1 आवर यू विल गेट 1.5 और 1.5 आवर का लेक्चर होता है ठीक है और खान एकेडमी का असाइनमेंट दिया है प्लीज एक बार चेक करो अगर नहीं किया तो तुमको पनिशमेंट मिलेगा आई थिंक ड्यू डेट इज गिवन ट्यूसडे अभी तक तुम लोगों ने हाथ नहीं लगाया कितना होता है एटलीस्ट उतना तक करो
किया किसने
मैंने किया
स्पंदन
देख वीडियो ऑन किया
आई कैन सी
हमेशा खाना एकेडमी का खुला रहता है मैंने पूछ लिया है
ये आंसर बता ना खाना देख के ये छुट्टी कर दिया अबे रैशनल पास का नहीं है ना तो हो जाएगा मुझे हो जाएगा रैशनल में लिखिए
अबे इधर दो सेट है जो
अल्ट्रा
असाइनमेंट्स है
और उसमें सारे सब
पिक करना है
हां इन्होंने लगता है हां से बोला लगता है
मैंने आन गया नहीं मैं उसके बाद देख के आ गया वापस
अभी ये घर में आके राइट पे करके मैं सीधा वो अभी कब तक बैठ के
सीधा सीधा
लगा अबे तुम जॉइन करनी नहीं अभी तक ये अबे लगे
करके दे चल मुझे
हट
रैशनल है
ओ हां रैशनल और ठीक है
ओ मुझे लगा ही नहीं रैशनल है
चलो
क्या है देखकर
कितना हार्ड है रैशनल ना सोच ले सारे
क्या मेरे बस में
जाके कर पाऊंगा
हां जरूर करते हैं
ओए करेक्ट मैं सब 5 से बता रहा हूं पहला इरेशनल है उसके बाद रैशनल
ये लिख लेना
ये आंसर में
अरे मुझे
irrational yes good rational very good
ये
बहुत irrational.
मैं बोल रहा हूँ पहले मेरा कॉपी कर
अरे नहीं फाइल देखना
सब लोग बोलो मेरे
मैं तो पहले
चीटिंग नहीं कर रहे
रैशनल वो अलग रहता है
नहीं मैं कर
अबे वही irrational
ना सिर्फ रैशनल
ऐसी है ना
जो समरी
काम को स्क्रीनशॉट निकाल
ए यार डन करो
नहीं मैं बाकी करके देता
नेक्स्ट सेशन
तू भी घर पे
जाना है
सब काम कर ले
हम लोग कर रहे हैं अंदर भाई में हम कर गए
irrational
अच्छा
अभी 20 को कैसे करेगा
irrational
पहले बात करना है
irrational
अरे तुम्हारा ना पेन होने के बाद हाथ में मोबाइल नहीं होना चाहिए, याद रखो। अगर मोबाइल है तुम्हारे ब्रेक में भी या क्लासरूम में भी मैं वापस नहीं देती हूँ। और इसमें ना कौन साइन करता है तुम? स्पंदन। और ये साइन एक ही आदमी सब लोगों को करता है, दैट इज सेट बी प्रॉक्सी। अगर आगे से ऐसा हुआ तो मैं तुमको कान खींच के बाहर डालती हूँ। और इसमें एक ही साइन होना
भाई
चाहिए।
ऑनलाइन से कैमरा रहता है इसे ऑनलाइन किया
किसे चाहिए?
नाम लिख सकता हूं
वो ना किसी ने भी साइन नहीं करने का, तुम्हारा साइन तुम्हारा नाम का सामने करो। और इधर बायो का लेक्चर में बायो करो, केमिस्ट्री का लेक्चर में केमिस्ट्री। सेकंड टाइम आगे जाके सेकंड प्लीज है, ठीक है?
अभी से बात
हाँ
अभी से बायो का करना
ये करने बोला है
अच्छा अच्छा। तो ऑनलाइन रहेगा तो नहीं हो पाएगा ना फिर तो नहीं। तो पिछले बार जैसे प्रॉब्लम हो रहा था वो होएगा।
हिस्ट्री आ गई है
2 है क्यों? वाई ऑनलाइन?
बाल चले गए
अरे
श्रीलंका की
कितना उनको छुट्टी चाहिए? नहीं तब छोड़ दे, फिर उसमें प्रॉब्लम हो रहा है। Okay. What we were discussing, Bolo? What was the last topic we discussed?
now you gave us that questions.
What are the questions I gave you?
What type of chemical situations that should be produced?
So what are the organelles we finished? We finished with mitochondria. Check karo. Lysosomes, Golgi, endoplasmic reticulum, mitochondria. So this plasma membrane. These 4 organelles over. So for animals, we are left with only 1 organelle and some few organelles of the plants, and then we'll have to look into the diagram of the plant cell. So this is what we are left with this chapter. What are the questions I gave you?
The first one was what type of chemical situation that the quality produce, and the second one was what do you understand by the detoxification role of this.
Rest, all of you, take out your notebooks. Look into the questions that I gave you the other day. Did you try writing down the answers?
Yes.
सेकंड वाला समझ में नहीं आया
First वाला लिखा? क्या लिखा?
Oil produces hormones, enzymes, and proteins as a chemical secretion for the cell.
Golgi produces Golgi secretes. What type of chemical substances does the Golgi secrete? Golgi secretes variety of chemical substances such as enzymes, proteins, and hormones. ये लिखना है. What is the next question I gave you?
What do you understand by the detoxification role of SCR?
SCR. लिखा? किसने लिखा आंसर? Tina. No, अरे I explained you no. Detoxification बोलो. अच्छा. Explain the role of explain the detoxification function of SCR. What I explained you?
SER, which is majorly present in certain type of cells or more present in certain type of cells, has the capacity of breaking down the poisonous chemical substances in our body, toxins in our body, to less poisonous form, less toxic forms. This process is known as detoxification. Those who have not written, write, and you just check your answer. If there's anything to add, you add. Arey,
Oh,
इसका है, अच्छा, it's yours.
second time.
देखो, water bottle bench में straight रखो ना, otherwise. That side, near you, you write. Adi. Now write down SER. SER plays an important role of breaking down. SER plays an important role of breaking down toxic chemical substances present in our cells. Toxic chemical substances present in our cells to less toxic forms. To less toxic forms. SER plays an important role of breaking down the toxic chemical substances in our cells to less toxic forms and neutralizes them. Neutralizes. NEUTRALI.
And what is after less toxic?
Less toxic forms, FORMS, and neutralizes them. Full stop. This happens especially in liver cells. But this time we asked a question. It's okay. Acha, now he's not there.
He's there. No?
He's there.
Spandan.
Spandan, you are there, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Spandan, we have a power issue. अगर कुछ बीच में power गया तो आप
Yes, ma'am.
के बाद में join कर.
Ma'am, you are not clear, ma'am. Could you repeat?
In case you are getting disconnected, no, there are some power issues here. In case you get disconnected, join back immediately. That is what
Not
ma'am said.
immediately.
After some.
We let you know.
Yeah, acha.
Okay, ma'am. Fine, ma'am.
Now, so that is the answer of this. Next question is what? What is the next question I gave you? What is it? This takes place especially in liver cells. Done? Okay. Now, what is the next question? Fatapat bolo. Only 2 questions I gave. The other one you wrote, no?
Yes.
Enzymes, hormones, all of you wrote, no? Okay. So today, first of all, the primary organelles we are already done. Mitochondria we are done. In case I'm already done with this topics, I want to give you a 5-mark mock test. बहुत मन कर रहा है मुझे. इतना कौन कितना पढ़ रहा है पता चलेगा. Just a basic concept test. I don't want you to write descriptions right now, but जो पढ़ाया जा रहा है क्लास में, you should be able to understand, है ना? और अगर समझ गए हो तो वो इतना जल्दी हम भूलते नहीं हैं. So that is what you should participate also in the class. Ask doubts, confusion. Okay. So let's see first. So we are done with mitochondria. I said, you should enjoy studies. पढ़ाई को जब खेलने जाते हो कितना मजा आता है ना, तो पढ़ाई को भी ऐसे ना, यू शुड लव टू स्टडी। मुझे तो कोई बोलेगा कि सारा दिन तुम बुक्स लेके बैठे रहो और पढ़ते रहो, आई विल बी सो हैप्पी। उसको हंसी आ रहा है, ऐसे भी कोई होता है क्या? I really would love to do that, but not possible right at this stage of my life. पढ़ाई को एंजॉय करो, है ना? एंजॉय करते हो? उतना नहीं, मम्मी डांटती है इसलिए पढ़ रही थे। So what today now? Today we are going to start. I said today we are to first of all complete with the only cell organelle that we are left with, and that is centriole. That is centriole. So for animal cell, what are we left with? For animal cell, we are left with the last cell organelle, that is the centrioles. The centrioles. Now, if I have to draw an animal cell and show you how do they look like, how are they arranged? Now, if this is the animal cell and this is the nuclear region, you know already inside the nuclear region you have got the chromatin structures, no, the chromatin material. Now, how do the centriole look like? Centriole, centrosome, how do they look like? There would be a small region where it is filled with cytoplasm, and inside there are some rod-shaped proteins, and this is, I'm sorry, okay, let me just show you this way. And cell ke do regions pe, they are generally present this way, and they would be surrounded by some arrangement of proteins. They would be surrounded by some arrangement of proteins this way. They would be surrounded by some arrangement of proteins. This is something like the rays of the sun, jaise hota hai, almost like that the structure looks like in a cell. So in the animal cell, this arrangement of proteins, now basically the structure, if you modify or magnify and try to see, it is actually this. एक cytoplasm filled region है, जिसके अंदर two long protein structures है ऐसे, and then some additional protein threads इस तरह से. So what are these called? These are called the estrus or the estral rays. What is this region called? This is actually the cytoplasm. And what are these proteins called? These proteins are actually the centrioles. And together, इसको बोलेंगे centrosome. So that is the structure that we are going to study. Now, when I talk about the centriole and the centrosome, let us try to understand certain features. Centriole, centrosome, present only in the animal cell. Present only in animal cell. In the plant cells, we never find them. Present in the animal cells, and where in the animal cells? Near the nucleus. They are always present near the nucleus, which is actually known as the pole of the nucleus. So if I talk about what are these two ends of the nucleus called? They are the two poles, just like when we talk about the northern and the southern hemisphere of our planet. No? So the Earth as a whole, no? We say the North Pole, the South Pole, exactly that way. The nucleus, the two extreme ends are called the poles of the nucleus. The two ends. And other features of the centriole, these are rod-shaped proteins. These are rod-shaped proteins. And these rod-shaped proteins are arranged almost in the shape of a letter T. One horizontal, one vertical, almost arranged in the shape of letter T. So these are nothing but proteins to understand. What are they? Proteins. What are their functions? Let us try to understand. What type of functions do they render in an animal cell? Number one, they produce the spindle. They produce the spindle. You have got a figure there in the book. Check that. They have got they produce the spindle fibers in the cell. And what do they do? They separate the chromosomes. They produce the spindle fiber, and straight away that is right. They help in the process of cell division. They help in the process of cell division. So this is what you are supposed to understand, the structure, the functions. What I said, the centrioles are basically a type of proteins, basically present where on the two ends of the nucleus, opposite ends of the nucleus. What are they generally meant for? They are meant for the process of division of the nucleus. Something like, if I just show a stage of the cell showing that how actually they help in the process of cell division. I'm talking about a stage of cell division. All these details we'll learn in standard later. This is a cell which is in the process of cell division, where I'm saying that this is the centriole and the proteins inside. This is the centriole and the proteins inside. And what are they doing? They are producing fine networks this way of threads. And they're also protein. This entire basket-like structure that they form, that's also protein. This is what we talk about as spindle fiber. Spindle, because it's shaped in the shape of a spindle, no? So spindle fiber. Then how do they help in the process of cell division? They help in the process of cell division something this way, that certain chromosomes, they will arrange themselves as certain chromosomes arranging this way, certain chromosomes arranging this way, and these spindle fibers will allow the movement of the chromosomes towards the two ends, and ultimately now the two cells will be formed. So the process of cell division cannot happen in the animal cells without this entire structure. The spindle, and the spindle will only be formed from the centrosome. Okay? Do we find a structure in the plant cells? Never. Plant cells do not have such type of structure, but cell division happens in the plant cell in a different manner.
Ma'am.
Bolo. Bolo.
Ma'am, I didn't understand, ma'am, that how this helps in the cell division.
You did not understand the method?
Yes, ma'am.
The method I did not explain because the method you don't want, don't need. But if you are able to see that the diagram that I have drawn here is only to show you that this centriole or the centrosome helps in the process of formation of the spindle. Helps only in the formation of a network of fibers like this. Can you see a spindle form of fibers I have drawn where the chromosomes are attached and the chromosomes later will be separated? Achha. एक और diagram अगर तुमको देखना है to understand how they would generally help in the separation, I would show one next stage of cell division where the division stage would something appear this way. जहाँ पे अभी एक जगह पे ये centriole इस तरह से आ गया, दूसरी जगह पे centriole इस तरह से आ गया. And what about this fiber? These fibers are fading now. These fibers are fading now because the chromosomes have already been pulled. कुछ chromosomes इस तरह आ गया on this end, and some chromosomes have come to this end. And after some time, these two cells are going to separate fully. They will fully separate. अब जब almost separate हो जाएगा, now the two cells are going to separate. These are specific stages. I'm just copying and drawing some one or two stages in between. These are sequential stages that you are going to learn. And if I start explaining the entire stages now, that will obviously take another 15 minutes. So I'm just giving you a fair idea that how exactly centriole and centrosome help in the process of chromosome movement. Only that much for the time being you're supposed to know. Is that clear? Clear it is?
Yes, ma'am.
So abhi function ye do likhna hai. What are the two functions you will write for the centriole? Centriole helps in the process of cell division. Ek function pucha hai, so that much is enough for you. Okay? Centriole helps in the process of cell division. Ye likhna hai. And also helps in the process of formation of the spindle fiber. So this is all that we have to study about the animal cell. Now we are going to talk about the plant cells. What are the plant cell organelles? No, not it. Make it fast. Make it fast. As I explained, you keep writing down the points that time only. Listen and write. Listen and write. Now we are going to talk about the plant cell organelles. Plant cell organelles. Now the plant cell organelles that we are going to talk about would be some additional 3 organelles that the plant cells only has, apart from the common organelles present in the plant and the animal. So far the organelles that I already discussed about, that is mitochondria, the Golgi, and plasmic reticulum. These 3 organelles are present in the plants also. What about lysosome? Yes, less than number. What about centrosome? Not at all. So now Apart from the three organelles, that is mitochondria, Golgi, endoplasmic reticulum, what are the other organelles the plant has? Let us start understanding. These diagrams you don't have to draw. If you want to see these diagrams, you can look into any of the stages of cell division diagrams from the net also. Diagram abhi draw nahi karna hai. Now, let us talk about the plant cells, where we are talking about specialized cell organelles that the plant cells only has. I start with the cell wall. Now, the cell wall, when I talk about the cell wall, the limiting membrane of the animal cell was what? The cell membrane. What is the other name of the cell membrane? Plasma membrane. What is the composition of the plasma membrane we studied? जा भाई पीछे जा देख लिखा होगा कहीं ना कहीं पे अरे this should be the biggest notepad and the biggest notebook.
Lipoproteins.
Yes, lipoproteins.
हाँ?
Lipoproteins.
Lipoproteins, very good. उसने भी देख के बोला lipoproteins. याद रखना, ये बेसिक चीजें याद रखना है, ठीक है? स्पंदन याद था कि नहीं? श्रेया, ये दोनों आते थे क्या क्लास में?
मैम मैंने बोला भी मैम, आपने सुना नहीं शायद।
तुम इतना जोर से बोल रहे हो, कैसे मुझे सुनाई नहीं देगा? Now, when we talk about the cell wall, composition क्या है? That's a difference. Try to understand. I will ask you to write down certain differences once I finish explaining this. So remember the differences. Just now I said, what is the composition of cell membrane? What did he say? Lipoprotein, lipids and proteins. Now we are going to write down the cell wall has a composition of cellulose. What is cellulose? It's a type of a sugar. What is cellulose? Cellulose is a type of a polysaccharide. Polysaccharide, मतलब complex sugar it is. So this cellulose is a type of a polysaccharide, which is a type of a sugar, type of a complex sugar it is. Since it is made up of sugar, the polysaccharide, SACCHARIDE, polysaccharide. What is the other feature of the cell wall? The cell wall is rigid. Unlike the cell membrane, which we have studied, it is made up of lipids and proteins, and that's the reason it is flexible. No, the cell wall is not flexible. It is rigid, firm. It is firm. It is rigid. Can you tell me one more feature of the cell membrane that we had learned?
It was firm. It was really firm.
Huh?
It was semi-firm.
Semi-permeable. Semi-permeable. So, abhi yahan pe contrast. I'm going to write. It is freely permeable. What is the meaning of this? Freely permeable meaning it allows the movement of all molecules in and out. Any molecule can pass through this membrane. Any molecule can enter into the cell by the way of the cell wall. Any molecule can leave the cell by the way of the cell wall. But is it not having the cell if any molecule enters and any molecule leaves out? No. For a plant cell, though the cell wall allows entry of all molecule and moving out of all molecule, but the cell membrane is the second gate there. In a plant cell, the cell membrane is the second gate. If I have to talk about the cell wall and the cell membrane of a plant cell, this is the plant cell. The plant cell has got two membranes. And first of all, this is the cell wall, and second is the cell membrane. So even though the cell wall is allowing all molecules to enter, no, the cell membrane will not take all molecules into the cytoplasm. So that's the reason the plant cell is saved. But the animal cell as it is has got such type of a property. It does not allow all molecules to get in. Ek black pen dena because it's ink covered. So when we are talking about So when we are talking about the freely permeable nature, remember what is meant by the freely permeable nature, allowing all type of molecules to enter. Then what is about the functions of the cell membrane we had written? What are some of the functions of the cell membrane we had written? What are some of the functions of the cell membrane we had written? We had written functions of the cell membrane like it protects the cell, protects the cell, holds the cell contents. No? Protects the cell, holds the cell contents. So, एक दो function common है. So we can write here also the cell wall is not actually holding the cell contents. In the plant cell also, It is the cell membrane which is holding the cell contents. So you cannot write that the cell wall is holding the cell contents. But since the cell wall is rigid, since the cell wall is rigid, what happens? The cell wall generally gives a definite shape to the plant cells. Since the cell wall is rigid, it generally gives a definite shape. So it generally gives a definite shape to the plant cells. Okay. And second is, when we are talking about the cellulose cell wall, apart from being rigid, giving shape, also prevents the bursting of the cells, bursting of the plant cells, especially when we talk about the aquatic plants. Why like that? Say suppose there is a detailed procedure or a phenomena to explain, but if I cut short and tell you that, see, whenever I am talking about the cell membrane, water also may be allowed to move in. The cell wall, cell membrane allows water molecules also to move in. No, just now we said the permeability nature. So yes, water can also move in, move out. So if that is the process, and we are saying that the cell wall is allowing so much water to come in, but cell membrane can hold some semi-permeable nature. With this reference, always we have to understand that in the aquatic plants, which are always in water, so much of water can easily flow in. Then, is it that the plant cells of the aquatic plants always keep on destroying or always get destroyed and burst out? No, they easily don't get destroyed and burst out. It is only because of the firmness of the cell wall. The firmness of the cell wall does not allow the bursting of the cell of aquatic plant cells, especially, so easily. This outer lining is just like a tough layer, but this lining, yes, it can expand whenever there is water. It will keep on expanding. It will keep on becoming bigger, just like the balloon. It will keep on becoming bigger. The cell wall does not expand or extend. It is just firm. It will not allow the cell to burst. Prevent bursting of the cells. Prevent bursting of the plant cells. And this bursting of the plant cell basically is applicable when I talk about the aquatic plants. Aquatic plants, okay? Cell wall. Remember the differences after some time I'll ask you to write. What also about plant cells we are going to study now? We are talking about plant cells now. What next about the plant cell we are going to study? The next type of organelles that we are going to study for the plant cells is plastids. Plastids. Now, if I have to draw the plastids in a plant cell, where should I draw? How should I draw? The plastids more or less appear like this. Now, say suppose this is the plant cell, and the nucleus will be more or less near the center. Whenever you are drawing a plant cell, I'll ask you to draw after some time. Whenever you are drawing a plant cell, the nucleus is always towards one side of the cell, not like the animal cell. In the animal cell, we draw the nucleus in the center, no, always. For the plant cell, you don't draw that. In the plant cell, why we don't draw the nucleus in the center? Because the plant cell has got a big vacuole to fill up the major part of the cell. And now the nucleus is almost here. Okay. I'm trying to show you the plastids. How do they look like? The plastids are more or less like the mitochondria. The plastids are more or less like the mitochondria. The mitochondria more or less oval, double-walled. Yes, they are also double-walled. And they have got some coil-like structures like this. Which are interconnected. Magnify the structure to see how would they appear. They would more or less appear like this. The plastids more or less appear like this. I said they are double-walled structures, exactly same like the mitochondria. And they have some disc-like structures like this. And all these disc-like structures are interconnected. These disc-like structures, sometimes they are 10, 12 of them, sometimes 5 to 8 of them. And these disc-like structures, they are all interconnected this way. What are these disc-like structures called? This is what is called the grana. And what is this? Cytoplasm called. The cytoplasm of the plastid. What is the cytoplasm called? The cytoplasm is called stroma. That's it about the plastid, that structure that you have to learn so far. So what I'm saying, diagram drawing for the chloroplast of plastid is not there for you, but only a fair idea. What is it? What does it look like? What are the main parts? So plastids majorly present in the plant cell, not in the animal cell. So we are talking about the plastids only in the plant cell. What are the types? Straight away we look into this before we go into the functions. Because the types, functions will be according to the types. So let us talk about the types. What are the types? The first type that we talk about is chloroplast. Chloroplast, the first and the most commonly occurring plastid. What is the next? We talk about chromoplast. And what is the third? Leucoplast. Okay. So now let us learn their functions. What are the three types of plastids? Commonly, remember the names. Chloroplast, which is the most commonly occurring plastid. Every plant cell will majorly have that. Chloroplast. What is the third? What is the second? Chromoplast. And what is the third? Leucoplast. If I have to talk about chloroplast, where are they present? Majorly in the leaves or in the young green stem. That's their location where they are present. What function? What function? Photosynthesis. Photosynthesis. What actually do they produce? They produce a green pigment known as chlorophyll. And because of the presence of chlorophyll, the green leaves, the young green stem are able to produce glucose by photosynthesis. It's not so, you have read this somewhere in previous standards also, a little bit. So the chloroplast are that type of a plastid which produces a green pigment known as chlorophyll. What is the role? Undergo photosynthesis, helps that part of the plant to undergo photosynthesis. And as it is undergoing the process of photosynthesis, then what? Since it undergoes the process of photosynthesis, it can produce glucose. As a result of photosynthesis, what do they produce? They can produce glucose, the organic food. So next time, chromoplast. Where are they present? What do they produce? Chromoplast, first of all, if I have to write, where are they present? They are present in the non-green leaves, I can say. They are present in the non-green leaves. होता है क्या? Green, non-green होता है. Leaves non-green होता है. होता है ना? In cooler countries, we have always seen, especially by cooler countries, you talk about the northern part of our country, Kashmir and this type of states. There are specialized type of trees jahan pe leaves are not majorly green. Leaves would be yellow, leaves would be red. If I talk about some very cold countries of the world, very cold countries where leaves are not necessarily green always, we find specialized type of leaves there. Leaves are red in color, leaves are yellow in color, leaves are orange in color. But are they capable of undergoing the process of photosynthesis? Yes. Because they have got specialized type of plastids, chromoplast. So ek to ho gaya, where are they present? Non-green leaves where they are present. At the same time, they are also present in the petals of flowers, flower petals. Flower petals that we get to see here also, the petals of the rose, the petals of the China rose, the petals of the lily, the petals of jasmine, any type of a flower you name. The color is because of the chromoplast. Or kahan pe hota hai? They are also present in fruits and vegetables which are colored. Can you name one or two fruit vegetable colored? Apple, when you cut, is it colored inside?
Oh,
Dragon fruit, when you cut, slightly colored inside. Carrots, fully colored, no? When you cut also, it's colored inside. What is? Beetroot, cut colored inside, no? Orange, or kaun sa hai? Papaya, oranges. These are type of fruits, crops, which are rich in chromoplast. What is the function of this plastid? Gives color. Gives color to fruits flower petals, etc. That's their function. Leucoplast, another type of a plastid. Another type of a plastid. Yes, they may be present in almost all type of plant cells, root cells, or cells of stem, or even leaves. All. But what are they doing? Are they producing any pigment? No. They are colorless plastids. They are colorless plastids. They are colorless plastids. Then what is their function? They help in the storage of starch. They help in the storage of starch. They help in the storage of oil droplets. So these type of leucoplasts, they may be very well present. The leucoplast may be very well present in the leucoplast may be very well present in the variety of plant cells. I'm talking about in the cells of the potato, in the cells of the leaves, any leaf you talk about, in the cells of the flower, in the cells of the nut, in the cells of the grain, in the cells of the rice, in the cells of the maize, the cells of the groundnut, any type of cells. But they are not responsible for producing any color. But all cells, all these plants which have got the green leaves, green parts, are obviously undergoing the process of photosynthesis. The photosynthesis से क्या बनेगा? Glucose, and the excess of glucose in a plant cell always gets converted into starch, complex carbohydrate. Oh. And this complex carbohydrate will always be stored in the cells of the plants. But kahan pe? Majorly in a specialized type of a structure, plastid, which is colorless, and that is what is known as leucoplast. What are the three types of plastids? Chloroplast, chromoplast, leucoplast. So that's the second organelle about the plant that we have got. The third organelle about the plant that we have to study is the vacuole now. You can see how exactly the vacuole looks like in a plant cell, the vacuole. So we now talk about the third organelle, and the third organelle is the vacuole. This is how the vacuole looks like. A big empty structure as if inside. But is it actually empty? No, it has got a liquid. What is that liquid called? The sap. So if I talk about the vacuole that the plant cell has, which is a big bubble-like structure inside the plant cells, and which has got a very thin membrane, So the vacuole almost fills up the plant cell. So that is what you are supposed to understand, that it is almost filling up the space of the plant cell, leaving a small amount of cytoplasm where the organelles are all arranged. What is their function? What is their, they are single walled. And what is their membrane known as? The membrane is known as tonoplast. Membrane is known as tonoplast. If you remember the name of this, the membrane is known as tonoplast. Single walled. Which one is tonoplast? This one is tonoplast. This is the tonoplast that I'm talking about. Now, what is the function? Function is what? Function of the vacuole is, it stores the sap. But what does the sap contain? Sap is what actually? Sap is actually water and dissolved salts. No? Various different types of salts. Water, salts, ions dissolved. No? So sap means what? Sap means the water which has got various amount of salts, ions, minerals dissolved. Okay. Then what can be the other function of the vacuole? Provides with turgidity, that's right. Provides turgidity to plant cells. That provides turgidity to plant parts, plant cells. What is the meaning of turgidity? Let's learn. What is the meaning of turgidity? Now, say suppose, did you ever notice the leaves of small shrubs or herb? Now, most of you, if you have potted plants at home, then you must have very well observed that. If I talk about the simple tulsi plant, I think most of us, we have got such type of a plant at home, tulsi or the simple small flowering plants like the jasmine and all. In this type of plants, if you have noticed that right now, nowadays, it's very hot, no, during the afternoon. And if you notice the leaves, are the leaves very fresh looking and very spread out and erect there? Are they? No. Nowadays, since in the morning, if you notice the leaves are almost rolling down. No, they are drooping down. They look very dull. Why? Because so much of the water is lost from the leaves because of the high temperature. But you see the same leaf again next morning, or you observe these leaves late at night. You will be able to see that the leaves are again fresh looking. In the afternoon, they were all rolled down, they were all crumpled, and they were almost drooping out. No, now they are again fresh. Why? Because so much of water has entered, the vacuole got tight filled with water, and since now the vacuole is because during the hours of the night and early morning, the rate of photosynthesis or the loss of water is much less. The plants are having so much of water, the vacuole is having so much of water. Same like us, no? When we get dehydrated, what happens? We look so dull. But when we have plenty of water, the day you are traveling or something, and you are not able to drink adequate amount of fluids and water, what happens? That shows in our face, no, that we have become so dull and so exhausted, so tired. Same is happening to the plant also when the amount of the water is less. So this is what we are to understand. Turgidity means the condition of the vacuole which is filled with water. If the vacuole is not filled with water, we talk about the opposite term. We say flaccid, flaccid. What is the meaning of flaccid? Cells which has got less amount of water. Turgid, cells which has got adequate amount of water. And if the cells have got adequate amount of water, how do the plant parts look like? They look fresh, they look green, they look spread out. No? So these are the basic characteristics of the plant cells that you have to remember. Now, what did we learn? Let us summarize before I give you one question. So what did we learn?
Ma'am,
Ma'am,
could you pronounce this word after provides?
Turgidity. Turgidity. Turgidity.
Okay, ma'am, it was not very clear over here.
Turgidity. 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 Now, take one question. Write 5 differences between plant and animal cells. Only 5 minutes I'll give you. 5 differences between plant and animal cells. Make a column and immediately start writing down. If you want to recollect, you may recollect. But book close karke likhna hai. You have to copy down from the book. We revised also just now what are the differences. If you remember, very good. If you don't remember, close the book and write. Differences, 5 differences. There are quite a number of them, 7 to 8 differences you can easily write. But as of now, 5 differences. 5 differences between the plant and animal cell. Neatly make a table, plant cell, animal cell, and start writing down the points. Fast. You all have your body with you, no? Yes. Complete fast. First you complete this question, all of you. This is a very common question that will come in your paper. Differences between plant and animal cells. 5 differences, obviously you should know. 5 differences between plant and animal cells. Chalo, start. Start. Make a column. I'll not give you too much of time. देख के नहीं लिखना है. If you want to read, एक बार पढ़ लो, एक बार recollect कर लो, then close the book and write. So that as it is becomes a learning for you. When you are writing, you see and write. That's of no use. Chalo, be fast, don't waste so much of time. Chalo, don't take so long. Be fast. 5 points likhna hai, you don't have to describe anything. Definite 5 points, start writing. Today itself, we studied 4 organelles. Based on that, easily you can write so many differences. The answer is here itself on the board. Quite a number of points you get on the board itself right now. Done? You have your volume there. All of you have your volume, no? पहले complete करो. पहले ये question complete करो fast. Done? Done? Chalo, fast. What do you have to memorize? Come out of your memorizing habit. Memorizing, don't memorize. Remember, whenever you are sitting for the lecture, school hai, yahan pe, try to keep grasping. Try to keep grasping and try to remember. What did you hear? What did you study? Done? Just 2 more minutes, fast. That's it. So simple. Only 5 differences you have to write. Done? The last 5 there. Done? Chalo. Write fast. The first point, what do you write? Cell wall, cell membrane pe you can write down. Cell wall, cell membrane पे you can write down one difference. Second difference you can write on plastids. Third difference you can write on centrosome, centriole. Fourth difference you can write on vacuole. Plant cell has got one large vacuole. Animal cells may possess small vacuoles or may not possess also. Remember that. Animal cells may be completely lacking vacuoles. They may not possess vacuoles or may possess very small vacuoles. But plant cells have got large, single large vacuole. Plant cells are comparatively large in size. Animal cells are smaller. And what else we studied here? Animal cells are smaller in size. Plant cells are larger in size. Plant cells are larger in size. What is the other difference I told you when I explained you this diagram? If it is an animal cell, the nucleus is centrally placed. If it is a plant cell, the nucleus is away from the center. If it is an animal cell, nucleus is centrally placed. If it's a plant cell, nucleus is away from the center. Got 5 points, all of you? Now, take out your volume. Take out your volume. Take some question that you're going to try right now. Page 12. Page 12. Volume, page 12. Review exercise. Can you see review exercise? Classwork section A, number 1. Tick karte jao. A sub number 1 करना है, B sub number 2 and B sub number 5. Next page. A1, B2, 5, 6. Next page. 6, 8. Homework section 1 and 2 and lastly 5. Chalo, keep doing. If you see that the answers are just one word and fill in the blanks and true false, you may write it down in the volume itself. If it's a difference, if I've given you differences, I don't think I've given you differences. No, I haven't given you differences to write so far. So all this you can write in the volume itself. You don't have to write anything in the notebook. Keep solving. Write one question parallelly.
Ma'am,
Yes,
could you once repeat?
You want me to repeat the questions?
Yes, ma'am. I heard that A1, B2, 5 and 6.
I'll tell you again, you check. I said page number 12, classwork section में A, sub number 1, sub number 3, sub number 5, page 30, number 6, page 13 itself, homework section 1 to 5.
Okay, ma'am.
Now start solving and parallelly, this is what you do in the volume itself. And parallelly keep one question in your notebook written as homework. Draw a well-labeled diagram of the plant cell. That will be a homework that you're going to show me next class. Draw a well-labeled diagram. That's your homework. Write and keep in your notebook. Draw a well-labeled diagram of the plant cell. Draw a well-labeled diagram of the plant cell. So that's your homework. Don't forget. You have to complete that. Now you complete this volume questions fast. Complete these questions of the volume. Wherever there's a doubt, clarify. Fast. Any doubt in any of the questions, clarify karo. Keep writing in the volume itself.
You are not just matching to be what you are.
You don't have to. Maybe that. That way, so right. Huh? Which one of the following scenario is correctly matched with the function? Huh? Which one is correctly matched? The one which is not correctly matched, you have to cross it out. So look, fast. Let me see who finishes the earliest. सबसे पहले किसका कंप्लीट होता है? Any doubt? What's the conclusion? Cell phone is present in both. Cell membrane is present in both. Cat and animals are both. Number one, check there. Number one. Which one of the following is correctly matched with the function? Which one of the following is correctly matched with the function? Number one, I'm talking about A sub number one. Which are the ones correct? Now it's not only which one, there are more than one correctly matched with the function. No. So if I ask you the other way, which one is not correctly matched with the function? The last one there. Which one is not correctly matched with the function? Which one is not correctly matched to the function B? Mitochondrial secretion of enzyme. नहीं ये तो correct है. Answer is C. C. Chalo next. I asked you B. One I asked you to do. A1 and B2. Chalo B2. Let's do it together. All animal cells contain a cell wall. All animal cells contain a cell wall. False. Next, centrosome occurs in animal cells. Centrosome occurs in animal cells. True. Plant cells contain large vacuoles. True. Protoplasm is a part of the cell which surrounds the nucleus. False. What it is?
Cytoplasm that surrounds the
Protoplasm surrounds the. Protoplasm surrounds the nucleus. No, that's wrong. There is cytoplasm surrounding the nucleus. Then what is protoplasm? The nucleus, the cytoplasm, and the nucleoplasm. Nucleus का अंदर का cytoplasm and बाहर का cytoplasm both together protoplasm. A cell wall is made of protein. Number B I missed up. A cell wall is made of protein. False. All shortcut जाता है. F. All shortcut इसका एक second में basically करना है. Now let us finish with this protoplasm. Now genes are located in the chromosomes. Genes, I think I forgot that. When we talk about the nucleus, I did not get you. Nucleus we finished or no? No. Achha, nucleus that then in that case just mark it and don't go. Nucleus we haven't finished. Nucleus not done. So nucleus is that means dead. So now that I do this question, so I understand. Otherwise, in this chapter, all the topics we are done. Nucleus we are not done. So that will take another 5-10 minutes. The next class will complete with this. So try solving the question as many as possible. Agar nucleus ke kuch questions aate hain which you find confusing, leave that so that you can solve later. Homework what did I give you? Drawing diagram of the plant cell. That neatly you will draw only with a pencil. Only with a pencil. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
What is this one? What is this?
Shut up, Anish.
What are you speaking from? You are not answering any question. Vandan, are you writing?
I will send you the notes. Wait.
Screenshot one please.
ये बोल अच्छे हैं अच्छे
अगर मैंने स्क्रीनशॉट निकाला बीच में
अरे 25 स्क्रीनशॉट ले भी लिए भाई.
बस ना लास्ट के क्रेडिट्स
मेरा फोटो भेज दो बस.
नहीं रे भाई, नहीं खींचा. तुम्हारी बदसूरत शक्लें खींचने का कोई शौक नहीं है. इंस्टा पे डालूंगा.
तेरे को ही डालूंगा मैं. देख तेरा पोस्टर है मेरे पास.
रुक तो पवार तेरे को देता हूँ मैं. रुक.
इसका क्या बोल रहे हो यार. चलिए अरे मेरा ये मार है.
अरे बोला चाहे सिर्फ आधे घंटे का
ये जो आईडी नंबर दिया है वो अपना ये रोल नंबर
अपना रोल नंबर है आईडी ये जो अपना टेस्ट होने वाला हम लोगों को अलग से नोटबुक लानी चाहिए।
आई डोंट नो अरे वो सप्लीमेंट
नहीं
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 लास्ट
सप्लीमेंट
मैं नहीं आता ना वही तो
आरएमओ पे नहीं है
नहीं आता
आया
ए नाइस
200
चेक करना भी नहीं
आया मेरे पापा के इसमें
लोग सप्लीमेंट्स
पास है पूरा पास है
तो आया था
आज तक पास हो गई
नहीं ये भी नहीं आया था
अरे यार स्पंदन क्लास
हाँ
कितना मिला
147
स्पंदन कितना मिला क्या आ रहा है हमें
147 तेरे को कितना मिला 33
अबे मेरा छापा है इसलिए पूरा इसमें इसको मेरे से ज्यादा मिलेगा पता है
चल चल
दूसरा छाप है
40% से वो स्टार्टिंग के 2 पेज ने तो खुद किया है स्टार्टिंग के 2 पेज खुद किया स्टार्टिंग के 2 पेज
स्टार्टिंग का ही था क्वेश्चन से पढ़ के
पवार कितना होशियार है बस पता
सब लोग अपना सीटिंग प्लान कर रहे हैं हाँ बट
भाई वो एलोन मस्क के लिए कंपटीशन है
अबे शान बैठ तो
अरे बताइए मुझे मैं लास्ट में क्वेश्चन अरे डायरेक्ट नाम को सब तैयारी कर देंगे
अबे वो पट्टी मार गया
ऑनलाइन अभी यूपी की सेटिंग है पापा
उसको ऑनलाइन ले अबे यार चलते चलते
गुड इवनिंग क्या हाल है कौन क्या कर रहे हैं
सर
मोबाइल
इसको भी प्रैंक कॉल कर रहे हैं
प्रैंक कॉल किसको कर रहे हो
मुझे पता नहीं सर
ओके कितना तक किया हम लोगों ने टॉपिक इज ओवर नहीं नॉट ओवर ना स्पंदन
ऑनलाइन सर
अच्छा स्पंदन
सर क्या
क्या हो गया तुम्हारे को आज आए नहीं तुम एंड हु इज दैट श्रेया गुड इवनिंग क्या हाल है तुम्हारा
सर स्पंदन यहाँ पे है सर
भाई स्पंदन वहां पे
वीडियो तो ऑन कर
वीडियो ऑन कीजिए
अरे एक मिनट सर नेट एक मिनट सर
ऑन योर वीडियो हाँ
पूरा क्लास विदाउट ऑन करके
सर इंस्टा ऑन करके बैठा था
स्पंदन श्रेया किधर हो तुम
सर देखो सोया था
सो गए
सर टेरेस पे हो क्या सोया था
नहीं सर हम लिख रहे हैं
वही तो सर
टेरेस पे आ गए तुम
हाँ सर टेरेस पर ही नेट आता है यहाँ पे
सर झूठा है एक नंबर
अच्छा
सर लिखा
टेरेस पे मत रहो तो क्या होगा बहुत गर्मी लगेगी
सर आजू बाजू में देख रहे हो
हाँ
हाँ सर पूरा मौज कर रहा
हाँ, श्रेया तुम किधर हो टेरेस पे हो कि घर में हो
सर मैं रूम में हूँ
ओके गुड नाउ हाउ मच यू डन लास्ट टाइम व्हाट वी डिस्कस्ड लास्ट टाइम
how to calculate coefficient
Percentage composition हो गया ना chapter. Now let us go for the questions of this topic. Questions of this topic हो गया? कितने questions बाकी हैं? Exercise 1B में कुछ बाकी है ना? All of you check 1C. Children, 1C exercise देखिए. Give me one sheet. Now, children, question number 1C exercise. All of you open. And in that, you will find question number 2. Complete the table. Okay? Complete the following table. Third question. Sodium chloride reacts. So after completing the table, okay? आप लोग क्या करना है? Question number 3 पे जाना है. And then we'll see this answers. Okay? Come on, start. Balancing, so I think so we have done most of them here. Then question number 9 also we have done. 10th बाकी है और 11th का correct करना है. Let us see one by one. I think the filling the blanks वाला question हो गया ना अपना? 1C. नहीं. Okay. Start. Fill in the blanks first. All of you, fill in the blanks. Question 1C. Page number?
Page number 15.
Huh?
15.
1 children, page number 15. Okay? 1C exercise. Question number 1. Come on, let us start straight away. Chalo, first, what do you?
Dalton used symbol dash for oxygen and for hydrogen.
Dash, नहीं, दो dash है. Dalton used the symbol dash for
Hydrogen
For?
and either dash and
an oxygen,
They made that.
dash for oxygen and dash for hydrogen. अच्छा children, figurative symbol है कि chemical symbol है. Dalton का symbol figurative था, ठीक है ना? तो oxygen के लिए क्या था? Circle. Hydrogen के लिए क्या था? देखिए चलो उधर दो blank बनना ही होगा. Okay, so next question. What do you?
Symbol represents dash of atom of an element.
Short form, right now?
Numbers. Symbol
अरे इधर का मत आंसर.
अरे इधर ही पता है.
Symbol represents
Dash of atoms of an element.
short form of an atom of an element, ना? Okay. Symbol का definition देखिए, सब लोग को मालूम पड़ेगा. Short form, children, short form आएगा. Third, what is it? Bhakti?
Sir, is it?
Huh?
Number.
एक symbol?
Represents number of atom of an element.
Formula, number of atoms, symbol with
Yes, sir.
formula. Formula आ गया. Next. Sodium. What is it?
Sodium chloride has chloride.
Ashi ना?
Ashita.
Ashita, sorry, Ashita. बोलिए.
Sodium chloride has chloride. Sodium is dash radical, like chloride is dash.
Sodium is what? Sodium is basic radical. But it will form base, and chloride is acidic radical. Okay? Then. So next one, what do you, Devan?
Valence of carbon in CH4 is dash in C2H6 dash in C2H4 dash and this C2H2 is dash.
Number of hydrogen atom देखिए हो गया. Number of hydrogen atom कितने हैं? कार्बन के साथ 4, उसका वैलेंसी 4 हो गया. Then कार्बन का. फिर उसके बाद 6 हो गया because 6 hydrogen atoms are there. Then यहाँ पे again 4, ठीक है ना? और बाद में 2 हाइड्रोजन नहीं है, तो 2 ऐसा करके उन लोगों ने दिया है कॉन्सेप्ट. ठीक है? Next one. Next question. What do you? Shreya. हाँ बोलिए. Fe3 iron.
FeCl2.
अच्छा FeCl2 is what? Is हाँ 2 and 3. Yes
So
or
2
no?
and 3.
Yes. So the next one.
Online,
Spandan.
online.
Spandan.
This हो गया sir.
Spandan, where are you?
Sir, game खेल रहा
Okay,
है.
Shreya, tell me the next question.
The formula of iron 3 carbonate is iron 3 carbonate. मेरे को नहीं मालूम.
क्या हुआ सर कहाँ गए?
अरे वातावरण ने बोला ना कि वहाँ पे कुछ पावर इशू चालू है, वही होगा, इसलिए डिस्कनेक्ट हो गए.
अच्छा ठीक है ठीक.
तो मैं भी डिस्कनेक्ट हो गई थी यार, सर ने मेरे को पूछा और डिस्कनेक्ट हो गई.
मैं भी वैसा ही हो गया.
अरे सर ने देखो पूछा ना, सर देवर लाइक सर स्पंदन सो गया, स्पंदन गेम खेल रहा है.
भाई मैं डिस्कस हो रहा था, बहुत गंदा नेट है यहाँ पे.
मालूम है रे मेरे को, वो लोग मस्तेरी खींच रहते हैं. फॉर्मूला ऑफ आयरन की इसके पहले केमिस्ट्री में सर ने कुछ लिखवाया क्या, मतलब एक्सरसाइज सॉल्व करना क्या?
Spandan.
सर देयर आर सम इश्यू सर. आप भी गायब हो गए.
हाँ सब गायब हो गए because some kind of power failure was.
सर अनीश को बोलो शांत रहे.
हाँ चलो अभी तो open your book. Open your book, child. Shreya. Volume page number कौन सा है?
15.
हाँ यहाँ
सर आपका आवाज बहुत ज्यादा ब्रेक कर रहा है सर.
break हो रहा है अभी.
हाँ सर.
अरे बराबर उसको पूछने के टाइम में
यहाँ पे I think so तुम कहाँ पे हो? Shreya for you also.
Switch on the video.
सर वैसे मालूम नहीं, मैं भी डिस्कनेक्ट हो सकती हूँ.
हाँ very good. चलो good. सुनो question number 2. ठीक है? सब लोग स्टार्ट कीजिए, लिखना शुरू कीजिए. वेरी गुड. बोथ ऑफ यू आर डूइंग नाइसली. स्पंदन
सर इसका आंसर क्या था? वो फॉर्मूला ऑफ आयरन 3 कार्बोनेट.
कार्बोनेट इधर है. लिख रहा आपको. एक मिनट और शेयर करता हूँ. सेकंड कैमरा किधर है? एडवांस ना. हाँ. Can you see? Iron carbon.
Yes sir.
देखो चल रहा है. Now Shreya and Spandan. Question number 2 पे जाइए. What is the question, Ashita? Complete the following table. देखिए table दिया है, तो आपको उसमें पेंसिल से लिख. You have to write down with pencil. ठीक है ना? Come on.
सर वॉल्यूम में ही करना है.
हाँ वॉल्यूम में करना है. ठीक है? Start. सब पूरा लिखना है, कंप्लीट करना है. जहाँ पे डाउट आ रहा है Then you ask, sir, this doubt is there. My friend, are you writing? देखिए कहाँ लिख रहे हैं? वॉल्यूम किधर है?
क्या हुआ ना
एक्सप्लेन करो।
क्या हुआ सर ना मैंने ये हमने स्टार्टिंग में टाइम टेबल देखा था फिर मैंने इसकी फोटो ले ली उसके बाद अभी चेंज हो गया टाइम टेबल
आपका टाइम टेबल चेंज हो गया तो फिर से आपको चेक करने का ना every day 1 day before you will check the time table श्रेया आप लिख रहे हैं
Yes, sir, I'm writing.
तो नहीं उसके वॉल्यूम में लिखिए चाइल्ड वॉल्यूम पे लिखिए जो आंसर दिया ना नीचे आंसर भी दिया है if you find some difficulty let me know or you will see pardon हाँ देखिए उसमें नहीं NH4 twice SO4 आएगा ना बस अमोनियम का वैलेंसी 1 है स्पंदन स्पंदन क्या हो गया?
अरे सर बहुत नेट का प्रॉब्लम है सर, बार बार डिस्कनेक्ट हो रहा हूँ।
आवाज तेरा ढंग से आ रहा है।
आवाज ठीक से आ रहा है लेकिन नेट क्यों जा रहा है?
अरे सर यहाँ पर यार नेट गांव में सर नेट का प्रॉब्लम है सर।
तुम यू आर इन विलेज नाउ?
यस सर।
ओके ओके चलो उधर ही स्टेबल रहो और करो ये सम करो क्वेश्चंस। चलो sit at one place and do it. सेकंड में मोबाइल सब अंदर रख दीजिए, मोबाइल बंद दीजिए, मोबाइल रखना बहुत चाहिए।
मैं कि बोलो करवा देना वहां से
सर इंस्टाग्राम में रहता है इनको फोटो
इंस्टाग्राम
सर स्नैपचैट पे पोस्ट करते हैं।
हाँ इंस्टाग्राम
सर मेरे पास इंस्टाग्राम में स्नैपचैट पे नहीं
नहीं है बिल्कुल नहीं गुड
सर आज तो मैसेज किया स्नैप में
अरे सर
चलो रुक जा सेकंड
सर अपने स्टोरी पे डाला देते क्या
अरे सर मैंने एक बार ही डाला था।
क्या
अरे सर पिक्चर डालता है रिसीव करके और कोई और नंबर डालता है
अच्छा ऐसे मत करो कोई
अरे सर मैंने कुछ नहीं किया
किसी करके फिर मालूम पड़ेगा बहुत
सर बोला 500 रुपए दूंगा
अरे आयुष ने
पेरेंट्स परेशान
और आगे
हाँ ये सब एंड अननोन पीपल के साथ मत चैटिंग और ये सब करो
सब फ्रेंड्स को ही डालता है
सूर्य कुछ भी चैट करते रहे।
especially girls and at your age you have to be very careful. Okay.
कोई तो हमारे मैसेज
अरे ना सर
So the third question, children, हाँ लिखा आपने पूरा नहीं हुआ, कब
बहुत ज्यादा
कंप्लीट करो।
CO3
Next week में next topic शुरू करेंगे children. This next time. Today let us finish off more of the questions.
हाँ सर
So then क्या होगा आपको? When is the exam on this
Please
topic?
next Sunday.
Next Sunday.
सर नेक्स्ट संडे में नहीं हूँ शायद
Where? Next Sunday से तो ये लेक्चर चलेगा ना कंटिन्यूस। कहाँ पे रहोगे?
नहीं उस दिन
सर उसको पूछना है मुझे कुछ तो एग्जाम कैसे देगा क्योंकि नेक्स्ट संडे मैं भी जा रहा हूँ ना तो
next Sunday तक मैं भी नहीं रहूँगा।
पर सर तो मैं एग्जाम कैसे देगा
मैं बाद में आके दूंगा।
अच्छा
Okay, चलो हो गया। Okay, चलो now third question पे जाते हैं।
चलो लिखा
नहीं है चलो now third question श्रेया आपका हो गया at least 50% हो गया सबका remaining you will do at because lot of compounds are there, ठीक है ना? About say एक में कितने हैं? 8 है, तो 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 8 of 50 compounds are there.
K2CO3.
It will take some time. Nevan, for your third question. All of you children, third question. Nevan is reading. Remaining compound you will do at home. Chalo.
Sodium chloride reacts with silver nitrate to produce silver chloride and sodium nitrate. They write the equation.
Yes.
Sir, and
Write down the equation. Below that answer is given. Read out the answer. Answer given. NaCl plus AgNO3
Equals
gives
AgCl plus NaNO3.
NaNO3.
it is balanced.
AgNO3 किससे रिएक्ट कर रहा है? NaCl. Yes or no? हाँ, और कितना है? Gives you AgCl first. उन्होंने पहला दिया, कुछ भी लिख सकते हैं. पहले ये NaNO3 लिख सकते हैं और but this is a precipitate. What is the mass of sodium chloride? 58.5. Yes or no? Silver nitrate का कितना total mass दिया उधर? हाँ, वो अलग अलग मिला के कितना आ रहा है? नेक्स्ट पेज में देखिए. नहीं दिया ना? हाँ, इसमें ही लिखना है. सिल्वर कितना है चिल्ड्रन?
Sir, 20. Silver.
सिल्वर का एटॉमिक मास कितना दिया है?
108.
हाँ, 108. वेरी गुड. 108. नाइट्रोजन 14. 16 is the 48.
Sir, 108 तो AgCl.
AgCl नहीं, 108 सिल्वर का है बस. नाइट्रोजन हाँ, इसको मिला के कितना आ रहा है चिल्ड्रन? This is 52, 62, 62, 170 आ गई है. Yes or no? 170 ग्राम आपने इसका लिया और 58.5 ग्राम इसका लिया. टोटल मास कितना है? टोटल मास 170 plus 58.5. How much is it? 2 उसमें दिया है फाइनल मास. कितना दिया? 200.
228.5.
Yes. अभी 228.5 grams should be equal to this mass. That is total mass of the reactants must be equal to the total mass of the products. AgCl कितना आ रहा है? This is 108. Chlorine 35.5. ठीक है? Grams में लो. This is how much? 143.5. Yes or no? Plus Na का कितना है? 23 atomic mass. This is 14. This is 16. This is 48. कितना हो गया? 62. Right ना? 62 plus 70. 90. Oh, what I see? I see 143.5, 90, exactly 228 हो रहा है. Yes or no?
Yes.
ये तो 90 लिख दे. दोनों को ऐड कर दीजिए. कितना आ रहा है? 228.5. Total mass of the reactants and products are conserved. This proves that law of conservation of mass. then आपको खाली prove करना है कि law of conservation of mass holds good. Yes or no? So the next one, fourth question. स्पंदन पढ़िए fourth question.
सर वो उसमें कैलकुलेशन एरर है क्या?
हाँ, कैलकुलेशन.
सर 143.5 plus 90, सर वो 233.5 होना चाहिए ना? 233.5.
233 कैसे आ रही है? 228 और 233 ये कितना है? 62, 62, 70, 90 हो गया.
सर क्योंकि 143 plus 90 is equal to 233.
233.5 तो ये कितना आ रहा है? 228 दोनों का आ रहा है.
अरे सर इसमें रॉन्ग क्या रहेगा?
नहीं. इसमें देखो 143.5.
अरे क्या रॉन्ग? सर आप सिंपल कैलकुलेट करके देखिए. 143 plus 90 सर 233 आ रहा है.
143.5 इधर आ गया राइट ना?
यस सर.
बराबर 233. उसमें कितना दिया है?
अब बोल वेदांत, अब बोल ना.
एक मिनट. हाँ
85 ग्राम हो जाएगा. 23 है ना? Na का 23 रहता है.
हाँ 23. सुनो इधर 23 है. बाय मिस्टेक 28 लिखा था. ठीक है?
Sir, 23 लिखा है.
हाँ उसमें 23 लिखा है. तो ये कितना हो रहा है? This is 62, 62, 65, 75, 85. चिल्ड्रन अब बराबर आएगा. ठीक?
Salute कर दिया उसको.
It was just a slight pen error. चलो next one. पढ़िए. What are
पॉलीएटॉमिक?
polyatomic?
Sir,
Fourth question.
देख.
एक मिनट, I'll just pick up.
स्पंदन लीव क्यों किया?
मस्ती देख के ऑनलाइन है कहीं सा।
पवार तू अकेला, मेरा तो तेरे को इतना मारूंगा ना, तू सोच नहीं सकता।
तेरी फोटो वायरल कर दूंगा मैं।
मैं इसके पीछे खड़ा हूँ तो बोल अब क्या करूँ?
अबे कुछ तो करना है।
बार इंग्लिश शब्द जा रहा है। अब स्पंदन बोल, मैं तेरे को भी मारूंगा।
Okay. Chalo. Then. Sorry. Now it's a check point. Now 228.5 grams dono. That is 28 is no problem. 23 is some atomic mass दिया है. Fourth question, come on. पढ़िए भक्ति. Fourth question. स्पंदन. Fourth question देखिए.
What information does the following?
भक्ति is reading. हाँ. चलो बोलो.
What information does the
अरे बड़ी because online में मालूम नहीं पड़ा. हाँ.
equations can be A parent plus H2SO4 gives parent SO4 plus H2.
Yes.
B and G plus 2HCl gives MgCl2 plus H2.
Yes. क्या इंफॉर्मेशन आंसर दीजिए. फिलहाल क्वेश्चन बोल के बैठ मत जाइए आप लोग. चलो आंसर इमीडिएटली विल क्लियर.
Parent plus H2SO4 gives parent SO4 plus H2. Tells us that one molecule of parent reacts with a molecule of sulfuric acid with one molecule each of infertile nitrogen. B Mg plus 2HCl gives MgCl2 plus H2. Tells us that one molecule of Mg reacts with two molecules of HCl and give us one molecule of MgCl2 and one molecule of hydrogen.
Yes, very good. Next one. Chalo now. Shreya wants to give the answer as well as question. Shreya, next question पढ़िए.
For this, sir, fourth का सब question की fifth question करना है.
नहीं, fifth question तो अभी करना है ना. हाँ, fifth question बोलिए. मैग्नीशियम का आपने बोला.
हाँ सर हो गया.
मैग्नीशियम का हो गया. Fifth वाला बोलिए. Fifth वाला.
हाँ. What are polyatomic ions? Give two examples.
हाँ बोलिए. Answer.
Polyatomic ions are the ions with more than
two.
atoms.
They contain two or more atoms.
Yes.
More than three ions of polyatomic.
It's two or more ना. चलो ठीक है. Example NH4 plus. ठीक है ना. Then SO4 2 minus. चलो next question. B वाला पार्ट क्या है?
The fundamental law which is involved in everything.
हाँ बोलिए.
The fundamental law that is involved in every equation is the law of
Mass. Yes. Fundamental law is law of conservation of mass. So next one. पढ़ो. हाँ चलो तू पढ़ो.
What is the valency of chlorine and CaF2?
Chlorine is CaF2. What is the valency? 1. Very good. Then B. Sulfur is sulfur hexafluoride. 6. Then next one. Phosphorus in pH 3. Carbon in 4. Very good. Then next one. Nitrogen in the following compound. N2O3. 3. 6 another. The 6 will go to nitrogen है ना. Okay. Then. Then. 4. Then. 2. Right. चलो. ऑक्सीजन का -2 है ना, तो उसके हिसाब से नाइट्रोजन का आपको फाइंड आउट करना. नेक्स्ट वन 7 पढ़िए.
balance, explain your answer by giving simple equation.
Yes.
So an equation has to be balanced so as to satisfy the law of conservation of mass.
Yes. Very important. Spandar. सुन रहे हैं आपको? Which question we are doing?
Question number 7.
7. All of you concentrate on question number 7. चलो.
सर कौन सा क्वेश्चन कर रहे हो सर, रिपीट करो ना.
Question number 7. चलो बोलो. देवान पढ़ी. हाँ.
Why should an equation be balanced? Explain your answer by giving an example.
Loudly.
Why should an equation be balanced? Explain your answer by giving a simple equation.
Yes.
Answer. An equation has to be balanced as to satisfy the law of conservation of mass.
Very good. बहुत ही अच्छा पढ़ रहे हैं. चलो then.
Example.
KMnO4 plus
H2SO4 plus FeSO4
giving you
K2SO4
Plus
plus NaSO4 plus
SO4 thrice.
plus H2O.
Yes. Next one. What is आगे का वो पढ़े. Then balance this reaction. 2 KMnO4. वो सेंटेंस नहीं बोला आपने. पढ़िए वो सेंटेंस पढ़िए.
अरे ऊपर का सेंटेंस पर है.
हाँ. That equation does not satisfy the law of conservation of mass. Conversion नहीं, law of conservation of mass ना. बोलिए. Example. FeSO4 giving you 2 K2SO4 plus that's very good. Then चलो श्रेया पढ़िए next वाला question.
सर आपने बोर्ड पे कुछ किया अभी?
पहले ग्राफ लिखा था. चलो बोलो.
उसके बाद कुछ किया नहीं ना सर?
अभी वो नेक्स्ट जो कुछ आएगा कैलकुलेशन देन आई विल डू. नाउ क्वेश्चन नंबर 8 चिल्ड्रन बैलेंसिंग पे है. ठीक है, व्हिच ऑलरेडी हैव डन. ठीक है, तो आप लोगों को क्या करना है, घर में प्रैक्टिस कीजिए इसका. देन क्वेश्चन नंबर 9 पे जाते हैं. चलो व्हाट इज 9th क्वेश्चन? आई थिंक सो दिस पार्ट वाज डन लास्ट टाइम. ये क्वेश्चन किया था कि नहीं? 9 नहीं हुआ. तो लेट्स डू 9th क्वेश्चन चिल्ड्रन. व्हाट इज द 9th क्वेश्चन? ओके चलो 9. चलो फर्स्ट रीड आउट 9th क्वेश्चन. उन्होंने किया 9th क्वेश्चन.
सर मुझे लगता है किया है सर ये.
राइट. चलो चिल्ड्रन फिर भी एक बार वापस कर लेते हैं. सम ऑफ यू माइट नॉट हैव डन. ओके नाउ स्पंदन.
सर 9th क्वेश्चन किया है सर पहले.
हाँ वही किया है. चलो एक कर देते. आशिता वांट्स टू गेट द आंसर. नहीं आता है ना आपको? चलो नाउ गो फॉर द definition over there. What is that? Define the atomic mass unit. बोलिए. बोलो.
The mass of an atom of carbon.
Attendance sheet नहीं है. साइन किया ना. चलो बोलो.
The mass of an atom of carbon minus 12 isotopes was
माइनस नहीं डैश. कार्बन डैश 12. ये कार्बन 12
isotope was given the atomic mass of 12 units.
चलो
12 units was simplified. Simply 12 units. तो ये क्या होता है?
यूनिफाइड मास, एटॉमिक मास यूनिट. वन यूनिफाइड मास बोला ना तुम्हारे को. क्या था? One unified mass is 1.66 into 10 raised to -1. इसका वैल्यू इतना है. ग्राम्स चलो बोलो then
One atomic mass unit is equal to 1/12 the mass of an atom of carbon.
yes चलो next one
सर कुछ सुनाई नहीं दे रहा सर, क्या बोला वो?
अरे तुम क्या सो रहा है क्या?
इधर से सुनाई नहीं दिया तुम्हारे को check
सर
it out
बहुत धीरे बोल रहा है सर।
अच्छा चलो अभी स्पंदन तुम जोर से बोलो उधर से स्पंदन
अरे सर मेरे को सुनाई नहीं दे रहा वो क्या बोल रहा है।
वही क्वेश्चन रिपीट करो क्वेश्चन नंबर 9 क्वेश्चन नंबर 9 यू रीड आंसर
डिफाइन एटॉमिक मास यूनिट।
हाँ वेरी गुड अभी सबको सुनाई दे रहा है चलिए बोलिए अभी आप लोग
एक मिनट सर,
पढ़िए
एक मिनट सर, एक मिनट।
वो खोल रहा है।
क्या बुक खोल रहा है, शांत रहे।
अभी आवाज आ रहा है तुम्हारे को?
हाँ सर।
अरे वेयर इज योर बुक?
अरे सर नीचे ही है सर।
हाँ तो read करो उसको
सर मैं खुद आंसर ढूंढ रहा था, तभी मैं उसकी हेल्प मांग रहा था सर, उसका आंसर भी सुनाई नहीं दिया।
अच्छा चलो तुम ही रीड करो उसमें आंसर दिया है रीड द आंसर
Atomic mass unit is defined as 1/12 of the mass of carbon C12.
then very good second part उसमें रीड करो second part अरे second part रीड कीजिए स्पंदन चलो I think so Shreya would like to give the answer चलो Shreya पढ़िए Shreya is very sitting at हाँ वो अच्छा है क्योंकि स्पंदन तुम बार बार इधर से उधर मूव कर रहे हो ना आपको डिफिकल्टी आ रहा है पढ़ाई हाँ बोलिए श्रेया देखो कितना स्टेबली अपना बैठ के चीज रीडिंग नाइसली चलो श्रेया बोलिए
Calculate the molecular mass of the following: 1 CuSO4, 5 H2O.
डायरेक्ट आंसर बोलिए उसका डायरेक्ट आंसर CuSO4 5 डायरेक्ट इज 249.5
0.5
point mass the next one ammonium carbonate क्या mass है 96 yes or no
96.
हाँ and third is what ammonium
132.
कैलकुलेट करना आपको मालूम है ना वेरी गुड श्रेया नाउ चूज क्वेश्चन नंबर 10 सब लोग चूज करेंगे उसमें आई गिव यू 5 मिनट्स 5 क्वेश्चन है चलो स्टार्ट कीजिए स्पंदन क्वेश्चन नंबर 10 मल्टीपल चॉइस है इधर आंसर दिए नहीं उसको मत देखिए बिना देख के आपको करना कीप योर हैंड ओवर देयर चिल्ड्रन और उधर अपना ट्राई टू देखो ट्राई करो
इसका ये इसके बाद मुझे किया सर हो गया
आपका चलो फर्स्ट आंसर अनीश बोलिए फर्स्ट आंसर
हाँ सर सी थर्ड वाला
नहीं क्वेश्चन तो पढ़िए
modern atomic symbols are based on the method proposed by third वाला symbol
what is that what serious so next one
number of carbon atoms in hydrogen carbonate radical is 1
number of
carbon atoms
in
hydrogen carbonate
radical is 1 very good next one bhakti पढ़िए Fe2SO4 tried excellent पढ़िए next one
The hydrogen to oxygen mass ratio is water is 1:8.
Huh?
1:8. The hydrogen.
Good. Rudra has given the answer. Next one.
Sodium carbonate is Na2CO3. That of calcium carbonate will be
Hydrogen
hydrogen carbonate will be CaHCO3.
Wise. Yes. Very good. 11th question, children. 11th question भी objective है क्या?
नहीं सर, correct.
Correct. Children, again I'll give you some time. Check it out. Spandan, Shreya, check it out. Those question number 11 ना?
हाँ सर.
ये compound element
Very good, Vedant. रुद्र आपने किया? वही क्वेश्चन का आंसर कुछ फाइंड आउट किया? दोनों मिलके कीजिए. पहला क्वेश्चन आप बोलिए, सेकंड आंसर ही विल गिव. दैट वे you also do the same way. एक आंसर तुम बोल उसमें करोगे. Shreya will do over there. Shreya, 11th question.
Correct कर सकते हैं.
Correct करना है. वंदन, आगे तुम. हाँ. हो गया सबका आंसर हो गया. Okay, come on, let us start. Shreya, have you done that? Child, 11th question हो गया. Very good. Now, Rudra, पहला आंसर.
पहला का ये
क्या करेक्ट होगा उसको? Read the sentence. क्या करेक्शन होगा? हाँ?
एलिमेंट या कंपाउंड.
हाँ, so element और compound दोनों हो सकता है ना? नहीं, element और compound. आंसर क्या दिया? खाली कंपाउंड लिखा है. हाँ, तो कंपाउंड लिखिए. मॉलिक्यूलर फॉर्मूला रिप्रेजेंट्स कंपाउंड. ओके, हाँ, राइट. मॉलिक्यूलर फॉर्मूला. चलो, नहीं, फॉर्मूला ऑफ एन एलिमेंट भी हो सकता है. हाँ, चलो नेक्स्ट वन. भक्ति पढ़िए. क्या हुआ? Molecular formula water is
represents 9 parts and also water, so it does not represent 9 parts. It represents 18.
yes, total 18 parts. ठीक है ना? Next one, because no hydrogen or 16 parts of oxygen, so 2 plus 8. अरे, sorry, what do you say? 16 plus 2, 18. Next one, चलो, नेवान पढ़िए.
Usually a balance equation obeys the law of conservation of mass and so does the unbalanced equation. For a balance equation obeys the laws of conservation of mass.
Yes.
But for a controller,
Balanced equation.
a balance equation obeys the laws of conservation of mass. That's it.
Yes. Next one, Ashita पढ़िए.
A molecule of an element is always monoatomic.
No, it can be monoatomic, diatomic or triatomic. क्या उसको करेक्शन क्या किया आपने?
No.
Molecule may be monoatomic or polyatomic.
Okay. So it is not always.
It's not always. Yes, वैसा लिखना. अच्छा, अगर वो स्टेटमेंट को मॉडिफाई नहीं करना है तो आपको always लिखना. Okay. Shreya, where are you? Next one. दोनों चले. Next question.
So now पढ़ो.
हाँ, पढ़िए.
C, capital CO and capital C and small o both represents cobalt. So the second one is C1.
That represents cobalt. Yes. Okay. The next one. हो गया? चलो, अभी next page में क्या question है? वही करेक्शन ही है ना? अरे ये वाला क्वेश्चन, अच्छा ये आंसर है क्या? हाँ वो तो कर लिया हम लोग, ठीक है। अब हम लोग का क्या है, होमवर्क क्वेश्चंस में कौन सा पार्ट है? मल्टीपल चॉइस है क्या वो? व्हाट इज दैट? नहीं सेकंड वाला, स्टेट विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग
Are divalent.
डायवैलेंट। चलो नाउ इसको मत देखो, ये हाँ इसमें से देखो 1 3 5 7 9 वैसा करो। चलो 9, ठीक है। चलो स्टार्ट कीजिए। पहला क्या है? पहला क्वेश्चन क्या है? हाँ अर्षिता पढ़िए, फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन में क्या लिखा है? हाँ हाँ चलो, व्हाट आर द वेरिएबल वैलेंसीज? कौन सा फर्स्ट एलिमेंट है? CO. So which are the variable valencies? CO plus 1 and CO plus 2.
So third question.
हाँ
Third question is आपने बोला ना first.
थर्ड, हाँ थर्ड क्वेश्चन का पहले
Okay. Write the formula of the following compound. Potassium chloride.
potassium chloride. This is of course simple.
KCl.
KCl. Then
Potassium nitrite.
potassium
Nitrate.
ठीक है। Then
Carbonate.
potassium carbonate, ठीक है। A2CO. Then third question, हाँ
Bisulfate.
potassium bisulfate, HSO4, ठीक है। तो ये सब तुमको बाय हार्ट करना पड़ेगा। चलो और एक दो क्वेश्चन पढ़ लो, बोलो।
Sulfide.
हाँ
Potassium sulfide.
पोटेशियम P2S, तो पोटेशियम का वैलेंसी क्या है? +1। सल्फाइड का वैलेंसी 2 माइनस, तो यहाँ पे क्या 1, दिस इज +, ठीक है। पोटेशियम सल्फाइड, सल्फाइड है कि सल्फाइड है? डैडी का डी है कि टाइगर का टी?
Sulfide.
IT है। अच्छा ओके, देन इट इज K2SO बस, ओके। सल्फाइड रहेगा तो आपको एस, लेकिन वही मैं सोच रहा था दिस कंपाउंड डजंट कम एस, इसलिए आई विल वंडर दैट्स व्हाई। कम ऑन नेक्स्ट वन। चलो ये तो आगे आप लोग को इजी हो जाएगा। नेक्स्ट पेज पे क्वेश्चन देखिए। नेक्स्ट पेज में क्या? फिल इन द ब्लैंक्स। क्वेश्चन नंबर 7 क्वेश्चन नहीं, हाँ वो यही क्वेश्चन 7 क्वेश्चन पढ़िए, ये प्लान कीजिए उसको। ऑल ऑफ यू प्लान इट आउट एंड टेल मी व्हाट इज द आंसर। हो गया क्या सबका? Now read out the first question. Anish, what is Mandan?
No KClO3 in the presence of MnO2 gives 2 KCl plus 3 O2.
MnO2 is acting as a catalyst.
Yes.
L plus.
Sir, first question is state what is the balance equation?
तो now ये balanced equation, ठीक है। Second question.
Give a reason why the whole equation is balanced. So
Because to you know to make the
potassium in reactants and 2 potassium.
नहीं क्या लिखा है?
Give a reason why our equation is balanced.
अच्छा, so the atoms are balanced. So mass is conserved in both the cases. That means here all the atoms on the reactant side and the product side are balanced. That means law of conservation of mass holds good. But then
State why the compound MnO2 is written above the ion.
because of catalyst to increase the speed of a
Speed of the reaction.
catalyst, which increases the speed of a chemical reaction. Okay, next one. Ninth wala. What is the?
So ninth one is.
No, eighth one is question.
What do the symbols denote?
What do the symbols denote?
Irreversible.
इसमें
ये first one.
irreversible. Children, ये जो है ना reaction जब ऐसा एरो रहेगा एक ही साइड पे irreversible reaction. Then both arrows in the opposite direction. Reversible. Then
Sir, वो S दिया मतलब solid.
इधर S small s solid,
Small L.
liquid. फिर और क्या दिया है?
Small g gas.
Small g gas. Very good.
AQ aqueous.
Aqueous. Yeah. Next question कौन सा है? Last few minutes, last few questions. Answer लिख दीजिए चलिए. हाँ?
Reaction would take.
हाँ क्या लिखा है? Question number?
9.
Dilute. CO2. What is the answer? Here the reaction is obeying the law of conservation of mass. Right? That because atoms on the reactant side and product side are balanced. Second is what? Yeah, state the, for example, what is that? Information. It does not give the idea about the physical state of the reactants and the products. It does not tell us about the time taken for this reaction, right? And whether the energy is released or not. Whether the heat energy is released. You know, limitations in the limitation of chemical reaction. ये देखो limitation. ये पूरा read करो. Come on. वेदांत पूरा read loudly.
Chemical equation does not tell us.
Page number बताइए. Page number 10 ये limitation है उसका.
The physical state of the reactants and the products, whether the substance are solid.
हाँ उसमें देखने का ये सब चीज है कि नहीं, अगर है तो फिर वो पॉइंट डिलीट कर दीजिए ना, वो मत लिखना. चलो then
time taken for completion of the reaction.
Yes, time taken to for undergoing the reaction is not given. Third,
whether heat is given out or
yes, that is also not given. इन्हें plus heat देंगे तो exothermic, minus heat देंगे तो endothermic, heat absorbed. Then
the respective concentration of the reactants and the products.
concentration reactants of products का नहीं दिया है. एक का दिया है dilute. Okay, only one reactant दिया है which is dilute, but they have not given the exact concentration. Okay, then
the rate at which the reaction proceeds.
Yes, वो अपना नहीं दिया. Whether the reaction is fast or slow, we are not able to make out from the chemical equation. ठीक है ना? Then
whether the reaction is reversible or irreversible.
लेकिन ये तो irreversible दिया है ना? Okay? वो इसमें खाली एक एरो देने से मालूम नहीं पड़ता है. Yes. So then
whether the reaction is completed or it is not completed.
Yes, वही reversible और irreversible. ठीक है? वो लिखने का लास्ट पॉइंट लिखना है, ये मत लिखना है रिवर्सिबल और इरिवर्सिबल. लास्ट पॉइंट लिखना है कि whether the reaction is complete or incomplete. ठीक है? हो गया ये. 1D एक्सरसाइज देखिए. 1D है क्या उसमें?
नहीं सर.
ओके, चैप्टर 5 मिनट रिलैक्स कीजिए. वी टॉपिक. ओके? यस. ओवर. हम लोग का
सर. सर कंप्लीट और इनकम्प्लीट रिएक्शन क्या होता है?
मेरे रिएक्शन कोई पूरा कंप्लीट नहीं होता है. दैट मींस बोथ रिएक्टेंट्स एंड द प्रोडक्ट्स बोथ आर प्रेजेंट, देन वो उसको इनकम्प्लीट रिएक्शन मिलता है. ओके? और जो रिएक्शन कंप्लीट हो जाता है यानी खाली प्रोडक्ट्स प्रेजेंट रहते हैं, नॉट रिएक्टेंट्स, उसको क्या बोलते हैं? कंप्लीट रिएक्शन. ठीक है कि नहीं?
सर could you give example?
Any reaction which is carried out in a closed vessel, इसको reversible reaction. जैसे देखो H2 plus I2 giving you 2HI. इसमें क्या होता है जैसे HI फॉर्म होता है again it decomposes to form H2 and I2. Your reaction is actually what? For example, incomplete reaction. Remember, ठीक है? और कुछ डाउट है पूछिए.
Okay, sir.
Act मत कीजिए बैक, केवल रिलैक्स कीजिए. बट उसमें कुछ आंसर्स देखिए, कुछ अगर कुछ डाउट है उसमें, स्टिल टाइम इज देयर. दो तीन रिलैक्स मींस फॉर एग्जांपल यहाँ पे ICSE को कॉल करा रही ओके now no problem. क्या करोगे? आप बंद करोगे, थोड़ा रिलैक्स करो, ठीक है? Breathing in and breathing out exercise. जो 2-3 मिनट है, उसमें we'll do this useful exercise, which is close your eyes and breathe in and breathe out. You get so much of क्या कहते हैं? Time you're spending in studies, you're relaxed. Stressful हो जा रहा है, so everybody is having this stress, but it is a positive stress. ठीक है? तो close your eyes. Sit straight, Anish. Close your eyes and sit straight. और जो spectacles पहने हैं वो भी remove कर दो, ठीक है? और तुम्हारे concentration में spectacles are not required. Then close your eyes, spinal cord straight, chin parallel to the ground, and then inhale through your nose and exhale through your lips. ये 3 मिनट आपको करना है. इससे क्या होगा? आपको बेनिफिट बाद में बताऊंगा. फर्स्ट यू डू इट. Inhale and exhale. Count as 1. ऐसा 25 काउंट आपको करना है. 25. जिसका जो मास एक्चुअली वो फॉर एग्जांपल नाक के ऊपर है, थोड़ा नीचे ले लीजिए, क्योंकि ये इनहेलेशन एक्सहेलेशन क्या होगा? फ्रेश ऑक्सीजन मिलेगा. Inhale and exhale. 3 मिनट तक करते जाइए. Then you will find the benefit. बहुत beneficial exercise. You are fortunate that today तो 2-3 मिनट मिल रहे हैं. Inhale and exhale. 25 काउंट तक करना है. स्पंदन तुम भी करो. Shreya also.
Yes, sir.
So you feel cooler. Two minutes. Just inhale and exhale. No thoughts. Keep your mind on the breath only. Inhale through your nose and exhale through your nose. No physics, no chemistry, no bio. Just your mind and your breath. Will be thought not long. Keep your mind blank. As you become blank in the examination, the same blankness we require over here. Which means there's a कोई भी thought mind में मत लाओ. कोई भी tension, worries, fear, keep them aside, out of your minds. Just inhale, concentrate on the breath which is going inside, and exhale it from the nose only. You will find cold air touching the inner wall of your nose, and while exhaling out, warm air coming out. Inner wall में feel करोगे, cold air going inside and warm air coming out. 1 minute. As you inhale, shoulders move up, and as you exhale, shoulders move down. Keep your body loose, hands loose, legs loose. Thirty seconds. Now rub your palms. Keep your eyes closed only, and briskly make it warm as far as possible. Then keep on your eyes. थोड़ी देर बहुत जोर से प्रेस मत कीजिए इसको. You slowly open your eyes, very slowly. Allow the light to come very slowly. comes to blast. The benefit of this exercise is what? Is that your positivity will increase, your eyesight will improve. चश्मे का number बढ़ेगा नहीं. In fact, घटेगा धीरे धीरे. To do along with this eye exercise. Third, your digestion will improve. Okay, and next, आज रात को नींद भी अच्छी आएगी. If you do this way, and next day when you get up, you will feel fresh. Okay, so these are the strengths of this. And when you switch from one subject to the other, do for 3 minutes, you feel nice. Okay, and grasping power will improve, memory power will improve. It's a positive movement. Okay, Vandan, thank you very much. Chalo, bye bye. And then next time we'll start with the new.
Sir, sorry for the inconvenience caused, sir, but the internet was really bad over here.
No problem. No. Okay. Chalo, bye bye. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all. Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Priya, thank you.
मुझे मिलना है.
Bye. Thank you. सब राय वाय लेके जाओ दूसरा. इधर.
Sir, we can leave, no? Sir, can we leave the meeting?
Meeting. You can leave the meeting, na? Over
Yes,
na
sir.
le.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.